Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's day 2 of free agency, and it's a good time to be a Denver Nuggets fan. My goodness, the Denver Nuggets doing some work. Lots of stuff for us to get into today. I'm Trevor Lane, joined as always by Keith Smith. Keith, I'm exhausted. I see that somebody in the chat was asking how many energy drinks I've had. I've actually not had too much, like maybe a third of one today. Yesterday, that was a different story, and I'm sure by the end of the day, it will be more. But it's been a lot these last few days, that's for sure. But we love this stuff, and that's why we just keep going, man.
100%. Yeah. Today started off a little slow, which was nice because I was getting caught up. I was updating some stuff and then rolling. Then all of a sudden it's SGA extension. Then it was the Miles Turner, which we're going to get into to the Bucks. And it was like, all right, that's way too big for anything but like a sign and trade. And then it was, no, wait, it's actually Damian Lillard being waved and stretched in the biggest wave and stretch we've ever seen. And it's going to be, something else here for, the next little bit to see how all this comes together. I was telling someone earlier today, I don't get me wrong. I enjoy the news breaks as much as anybody else does. But then what gets me really excited, and this speaks to my mindset and what a goofy nerd I am, I like the order of operations and the mechanics of how they put together these deals and these off seasons and all that stuff. I love sitting down and figuring all that out and how it's going to matter. And these things do matter. I won't bore everybody to tears by taking them back to, 8th, 9th grade math class, but it really is something else, the way teams, put all this stuff together to make it work.
All the maneuvering and figuring it all out that they have to do, for sure. Okay, we got a lot to get into here, obviously, and I guess let's just start with the whole Miles Turner situation of it all. Keith, I don't know if I told you this, but so right after I published my last video for Lakers Nation last night, I'm talking like 5 minutes after I actually published it, and I debated holding it till the morning, and I said no, it's the middle of the night. I don't care. I'm still going to publish it. Power goes out. Had a lightning storm, knocked out the power on my street and the street over and nowhere else. Nowhere else. Just my street and the street over. So this morning, I'm stressing out. Power's not back on. Power's not back on. Power's not back on. And the Miles Turner thing breaks. I've already got my setup like at my kitchen table because there's actually daylight coming in, right? Got my setup and everything there. I'm frantically starting the generator, get that going so I can plug my internet into that and get service and everything and do this thing. I sit down, I go to start recording, power pops back on. I'm like, oh my God. I grab everything, I run into the studio, flip out all the lights that are now working again to cover the Miles Turner situation. But that is why that will be a trade I will never forget about, or not even a trade, a move. I still can't believe that the Indiana Pacers are not bringing back Miles Turner. Let's just start there. Apparently Pacers just unwilling to pay the tax again. Like, how do you feel if you're an Indiana Pacers player right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is tough to take. I think if you're a Pacers fan, Pacers player, someone in the front office, you have to set a line, right? We've seen it. You can't just give everybody the max in the most you can because it's going to run you in all kinds of trouble. But after a couple weeks of, hey, we're going into the tax and we'll pay the tax to keep Miles Turner. Some of the reports that are flying around with where they set their line at was pretty tough. And I get he had a tough NBA Finals, but we're talking about a 7-game stretch. Like,
tiny
it's pretty good
size
throughout the rest of the playoffs. Yeah. And it's got to be hard because if you're a Pacers fan, you're looking at it and saying, all right, we don't have Halliburton. We know that. But we still have a ton of really good players. We have really good guard depth. Get Turner back. We're still a playoff team. Then a year from now, all those guys get even more experience, whatever our playoff run was. Now we get Halliburton back and we're ready to make another finals push. Now you have a major hole to figure out at center, and you're going to have to sort through that. And it's just a step back, right, for them. So that is a, tricky spot to be in for the Pacers. for the Bucks. You hurt a division rival, right? A team you're trying to get past in the Eastern Conference. The Milwaukee is very much not done. I guess that's the best way to put
And
that.
they did some other stuff too.
They've done a lot of other stuff. Their challenges, I have a lot of ball handling, playmaking on this roster right now. Giannis is awesome, but you can't say, hey, Giannis, bring the ball up every trip and create everything for us.
Yeah.
Kevin Porter Jr. was pretty good with the Bucks. We've made a million Kevin Porter Jr. jokes on this show. We all know. But he was pretty good with them. So let's see where they go from here. With this. So I think it's going to be interesting for Milwaukee to see how they round out the roster, but they're in pretty good shape, I think, to be able to round out the roster fairly well.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're this is a gutsy move by them. And I know the initial report from Chris Haynes was, well, Giannis isn't happy with this. And I'm like, are they really going to have the biggest waiver, the biggest chunk of cap space ever in dead money on their books from waiving Damian Lillard? $22.5 million for 5 years of dead money sitting on your books without talking to Giannis first? That doesn't seem right to me. Giannis may not be happy with it. Dame's getting waived. By the way, Dame apparently, according to his agent, is thrilled because now he gets to pick a team and not worry about money at all. He doesn't have to worry about whether or not that team can afford him, because now every team can afford him. He can play for the minimum and still get the same amount of money. So Damian Lillard's free agency now is something we'll talk about. But I have a hard time believing the Bucks would make this move, would take on all of that dead money sitting on their books if they didn't have Giannis on board, with Miles Turner coming in, Damian Lillard going out. And clearly this is the Bucks trying to make a move to say, no, we're not taking a gap year. We're going to go try to win right now and do everything we can. And that includes paying Damian Lillard over $100 million to not play basketball for us.
Completely agree. It's the Damian Lillard part of it where it all falls apart if Giannis was completely out of the loop. Because I've seen some people say, why would you want Miles Turner on the books if Miles Turner's making like $22 million a year? Like, that's fine for him. Like, no matter almost who else is on the team, like, that's not going to keep you from doing anything. It's that $22.5 million in dead money on the books from Dame that's going to sit there. I mean, we're years and years now out from when you and I first started talking hoops regularly and talking about Luol Deng's $5 million potentially keeping the Lakers from doing stuff in one summer. And here we are now. It's $22.5 million in dead money. I had a little kind of, I don't know, I thought it was interesting about how the Damian Lillard dead money just squeaked in underneath the amount. So when a team waives and stretches a player, you can't have more than 15% of the cap in stretched money any given year on your books. In Lillard, they don't have any other dead money. Lillard came in like $600K shy of that 15% marker. So the Bucks are okay. And that's the exact reason why the Suns can't waive and stretch Bradley Beal without a buyout, because they'd be over that 15% amount. So, because I wanted to answer that. I'll answer this too, because I've seen somebody who said, well, Dame maybe just takes the year off and resigns in Milwaukee in a year. He can't go back to the Bucks until after the tenure of his original contract, which would be through the 26-27 season runs out. So we're just in a different spot for Milwaukee, but keep an eye on Vasily Micic. Maybe they package him in another deal going out. They've got all kinds of things happening here. Lots and lots of moving pieces before all is said and done for the Bucks.
Yeah. So, this is, I commend Milwaukee for being able to do, or for doing what they need to do, ideally to try to keep Giannis happy and keep him in Milwaukee. But this is a gamble. We'll see how it all plays out. And what's interesting is there's not very many bigs in the NBA who protect the rim and shoot threes. And they went from one of them to another one. And they went from Brook Lopez to Miles Turner. And I do think that Turner will help the Bucks, and we'll see how they build this thing out from here. I like the Gary Harris addition for them, just as another, cheap guard to add there, and then bring it back Taurean Prince, Jericho Sims, Gary Trent. I think the Bucks have done a nice job so far, and feel like they should be in the mix in the Eastern Conference.
Got to round out with a little bit more ball handling, a little bit more playmaking. I think Ryan Rollins, there was, I think, a little confusion with that when they basically said, "Hey, we're gonna take we're rescinding the qualifying offer," but that's just a cap space maneuver. And I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna re-sign him ultimately, probably to a minimum deal, maybe a 2-year minimum. Because important to know, a lot of these deals that they've signed are 2-year deals, and I'm going to guess there are team or player options on the second year of a handful of these, and that's how the Bucks are going to be protected going out further. But we'll know that. It's just worth stating, none of this stuff can go official until noontime on the 6th, noontime Eastern, that is, on July 6th anyway, for most of it at least. Rookie scale deals, second round pick deals, two-way contracts, and a lot of those are getting signed right now.
All right. Should we jump over to what the Nuggets have been up to?
Yeah.
They're making some moves, man. They've done some really good work. And I saw it again. The Shams tweet came through. No dollar amount on Tim Hardaway Jr. We went,
Yep.
They got Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown on minimum contracts and traded for Jonas Valanciunas. I've talked about this a lot. This is a new era in the NBA. That's a return to kind of the old era in the NBA, where now teams want to have 2 at least legitimate centers on their roster. We're not seeing as many teams be comfortable with the one big and then being okay just playing small behind that player. And now you've got Jonas Valanciunas backing up Nikola Jokic. And this is, I think, just a really, really great offseason for the Denver Nuggets. Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown on minimums is incredible. I didn't think either one of them could be gettable for a minimum, and they got them both. Yep. Plus Valanciunas, nice deal there. A deal that was in part made possible because of the Cam Johnson trade, freeing up some room there. So the Nuggets, this team is right there at the top of the West now with what they've done.
Yeah, Carter Bryant checking in. I'm gonna guess it's not actually him, but that's okay. Maybe it is. Who knows? Don't Nuggets still have tax? They think he's mixing up the acronym there, but the tax payer, Emily. Yeah, I mean, they could. They're getting very close to not having enough room to fit in more stuff, and they're pretty close to a full roster as it is right now, too. So I think they're probably, I'm not going to say they're dumb, but they're probably more in the line of whatever is left over for them of a signing exception. Let's keep this, let's keep this, clear for ourselves here moving forward with this. So, I think that's probably where they're headed, to this. So, that way they can kind of go into a place of, if we need to use it later, we can use it later. But for right now, we're in pretty good shape.
All right. From there, let's throw in one of our chat questions here. Can the mid-level and non-taxpayer dollars be used for multiple players?
Yeah, it can be split. Teams do it pretty regularly. It gets split up. The key thing with the non-taxpayer mid-level is once you use more than the taxpayer mid-level allows, so the non-taxpayer is like 14.1 million, the taxpayer is like 5.7. If you use 5.8 or more of it, you are now hard capped at the first apron. Or if you use the non-taxpayer to give out a contract longer than 2 years in length, because that's not, the 2 years is the max that is allowed by the taxpayer, you're there. So, we got a little breaking news.
I'll hit the drop. Here we go.
Hit the drop.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
We haven't gotten to use the drop enough. So.
Yeah, I know, right?
What do you use it?
Persham Sharani, a free agent shooter, Duncan Robinson, has agreed to a 3-year, $48 million deal with the Detroit Pistons. Let me see if there's more of it here, because that's probably means that could be a sign and trade. I think maybe the Pistons are going under the cap. I don't think that's going to be how this plays out, given they're also acquiring Karis LeVert, but we'll see where that comes with the Pistons. That's their shooter to replace Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr.
I've been a little underwhelmed with the Pistons summer compared to the other teams around them. Yep. Unfortunately, because and that doesn't mean they can't continue their rise. Cade Cunningham is amazing, and they've got young players. They're going to get Jaden Ivey back, but overall, just compared to what everybody else is doing, I've been a little underwhelmed with Detroit.
There it is. Sign and trade Simone Fontecchio to Miami to acquire Duncan Robinson. So that's how that trade's going to get done. That'll be the matching salary. So Detroit, here's how I kind of look at this is they were going to slide Tim Hardaway Jr. into a bench role anyway, very likely if they were fully healthy this coming season with Jaden Ivey back in the fold. So think of it this is oversimplifying, but let's break it down. Jaden Ivey kind of replaces Tim Hardaway Jr. Karis LeVert replaces Dennis Schroeder as that second unit ball handler. And then Duncan Robinson replaces Malik Beasley as your designated shooter. So not bad, just different, right? And
sure.
And I think the Pistons will be okay moving forward. I think they're all right.
All right. Where do you want to go next?
I'm trying to think of what else happened today here.
My brain at this point is
right.
slightly mushy.
Whoops, clicked the wrong button. Well, that's always fun. This is wonderful live podcasting here. Come on now. All right.
What are you trying to?
Let's see. Well, SGA's extension.
We can talk about that. I mean, it's a max as expected, but
little weird with the numbers. Can I get a little nerdy here for a minute?
Sure.
You guys want to get nerdy with me?
Yep.
So SGA, it's not going to come in majorly different. It's not really going to matter. But here is the thing with SGA's extension. We found out yesterday the cap for this coming season, the league year we're now living in, 10% raise. Bobby Marks was the first one to report 7% for next year. SGA's extension will actually kick in the year after that with the 27-28 season. If you start doing the math on how they got to the number, it has to be 10% this year, 7% next year, 10% the year after that. I don't think that's going to be how it goes. I think it's going to be 7% the year after that, too, at most. It'd be kind of weird for it to go up. We're reflecting it as reported on Spot Track right now, but don't be surprised if that number comes in a slight bit lower as we get closer in the cap projections finalized. Here's where that gets a little tricky, though. 10% cap growth is awesome because that means the cap growth outpaces the growth of a salary.
Sure.
Salaries are limited to 8% growth. If it's 7% or less, that's where that starts to eat into, all right, now we're that much closer to the apron, that much closer to the second apron. And those things will all start to matter. So, of course, they were always giving him the max. He could have waited. He could have done this a year from now and got a 5-year deal, and probably he would have had 80+ million in his final season. But why wait? Lock in your 4 years and get going.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Just want to be a little nerdy for.
And why not? And if you're the Thunder, of course you're gonna try to get SGA signed for. He just won a championship, won an MVP, won a Finals MVP. You're gonna give the man what he wants.
I guess Dennis Schroeder to the Kings.
Oh yeah,
another deal.
I feel like that happened a week ago because we've known about it for so long.
The only news that came out today, I think it was Mark Stein was the first one to report it. Will be a straight signing that will come out of the non-taxpayer. Emily, we'll get that number updated on Spot Track.
I think the third year is only a partial guarantee, though.
Yeah, third year partially guaranteed, which is good. Good protection. I don't get too hung up on the other side of 30 for point guards anymore, right? That used to be such a thing. It doesn't really feel like it's there, but yeah. So with that one, I don't think there's a lot here with the Dario Saric to the Kings move. Drew Eubanks. All right, you're just kind of replacing the minutes that you would have got from Valanciunas behind some bonus. Opens a little bit more runway for Maxime Reynal, who they drafted there. So we'll see. Yeah, with that one.
All right. Should we go to some of our questions here?
Yeah, go ahead and get a couple questions in here because I think there's people are asking about specific stuff.
What centers are left for the Lakers and Warriors if, say, Ayton signs with Indy? It's Al Horford, Jackson Hayes.
Not much.
That's about it. There's not much left.
Yeah. Let's see. I got these are the. Okay, never mind. These are the my free agent available center rankings. Al Horford, Mo Wagner, Jackson Hayes. Then you're getting into it gets pretty ugly pretty quickly. Isaiah Jackson sounds like maybe him and potentially James Wiseman. Will go back to the Pacers now to help try to fill the Miles Turner void there. And then you got like now we're talking Bismack Biyombo, Thomas Bryant, DeAndre Jordan, if we want to go there, and then it gets really like Alex Len. We can stop there because I don't need people getting sick here on dinner time on the East Coast. So somebody said Hayes 5 years, 105 confirmed. So it gets pretty ugly. There a couple guys who you could maybe play as a center. Trey Lyles, I think, is interesting, especially if you're looking for a little bit more of a stretch look. Marvin Bagley III, he's had moments. Chris Boucher, Precious Achua, Shaq's favorite player in the world, Bol. Those are all options you could maybe look at if you're trying to play a little more smaller, little stretchy, a little more switchable.
Jay Stubbs saying no YouTube. We are on YouTube. We're on the Front Office Show YouTube channel. Come hang out.
Not on there? Yeah, we're on there.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm watching us right now. We look good.
I
see your question, Jay Stubbs.
There we go. Was missing out on Yabusele a miss for the Lakers? I don't know that he was really a fit for what they're looking for and what they need. Like he's not. I think he even got reported as like they signed center Gershon Yabusele. He's not really a traditional center. That's not.
No, especially with the Knicks can call him that because he could be a small ball five behind Towns. The Lakers couldn't really call him that because they need a starting five.
Yeah,
not a small ball five. So they need a little stuff there. So look at
the Lakers.
Sorry, we'll come right back to that. Just Alex checking in. You'd know if you were subscribed.
There we go.
That we were live on YouTube. That's right. Let's go.
Adam said, "Can the Lakers sign and trade for Ayton? Still makes sense? Or you don't need to sign and trade. He's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
Nothing to do there.
Yeah, no sign and trade. That he can't be signed and traded because he was waiting.
Yeah. With the Yabusele to New York, how do the Sixers pivot at the 4?
Kind of did already with Trendon Watford. That was kind of their pivot move there. He's more of a 3-4. I think Philly is going to try to play very fast next year. I know some people are like, wait, play fast? Joel Embiid? Like what?
Right.
But I think the idea is going to be multiple ball handlers on the floor, Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe. I think Quentin Grimes will end up back there. Then you got Paul George. Like, let's compare him to last season's Pacers. Paul George kind of plays the Siakam role on offense. Then you have Embiid kind of play the Miles Turner role on offense, right? Like, nobody thinks of Miles Turner as a speed demon. So there's no reason Embiid can't function as a trail shooter for those really fast guards. They push, they get up the floor, kick back to him. That's pretty good offense there. So I think, and especially when they're out, I think that's going to be like when Embiid is out or George is out, I think that's going to be the default. And that's where a guy like Trendon Watford comes in, where they're going to really be able to play fast with him.
Well, and you know, I mean, going way back into NBA history, like the Showtime Lakers were known for flying up and down the floor. Kareem wasn't flying up and down the floor, man. He was just jogging down when it was time to play half court. Like you could have a fast team and still have a slower center out there on the floor, especially when they could shoot the trail 3 the way Embiid does.
That's it. Yeah. You got to hit that trail 3. And I think that's the kind of key part for them if they do want to play fast is to get there with that. So.
All right. Miles Turner is from the Jackson Hayes Brook Lopez School, being 7 feet tall and averaging less rebounds than SGA. Totally. Could the Lakers trade LeBron, Bronny, and Gabe to Cleveland for a package around Jared Allen? I mean, the Cavs have to drop below the second apron, and that's where it gets tough.
Yeah. Yeah. The Cavs are going to they would have to do something first, and then they would have to then go back and kind of like come back to a trade for LeBron at that point. Adding other guys into it, now you've only complicated it even further. Yeah. So just if you wanted to play with it, you got to get somebody away, and then you can kind of go in a different direction. From there. So
all right. Luke said Dave McMenamin said the Lakers are in negotiations with a trade, and he said Ayton is not Lakers number 1. Thank you both for everything you do. You guys are legends. Yeah. Like I said, I've been saying it a bunch on Lakers Nation. we'll see when the dust settles what it is that they're up to. Hopefully, there's a point where we go, oh, that's what they're up to, and it all becomes clear. Right now, it's doom and gloom. The sky is falling because everybody else is doing stuff, and they're just sitting back. And I think a lot of people have very not so fond memories of what they put everybody through last summer by sitting out the off season. We'll see where this goes from here with them. I don't know if they're involved in a trade or not. I'm sure they're involved in a lot of things, trying to figure out what they're going to do at the center position. Some of it might be Ayton. Maybe there's some hopes. Look, Ayton does have a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of negative reporting out of Portland. A lot of teams that I would assume would not be super high on him. So we'll see ultimately where this all lands with them. Maybe they pull something off. The hope is certainly that they do something that's not just the status quo.
Yeah, I think your real hope with if you got DeAndre Ayton is that being with Luka and LeBron gives them the kick in the pants to play hard and play with effort.
Yeah.
Because if you read Jason Quick's story, and Jason Quick, just so everybody knows, he writes for The Athletic. He's covered the Trailblazers forever. He does not write hit pieces. He's not a person who writes like that. He's more likely to write about like the personal side of stories. He kind of let go a little bit on some of the stuff from why the Blazers were like, yeah, all right, you get here, take $25 million and go away. Like, we don't want you anywhere near the other young guys on this team anymore. So I think that's what you're hoping for, is he gets the wake up call, because the talent is certainly there.
Yeah.
It's just when,
and that's why I said, if whatever team it is getting DeAndre Ayton, this is it, right? Whatever team gets him, if he doesn't do it now, it's never happening, because not only did he just get kicked out the door, but there's a bunch of stuff being said about him on his way out. Yeah. If that doesn't motivate him, that's it. It's done. It's never happening.
Exactly. Yeah. 100% right. Yeah. I am really, he can't be all you do, right? If it's the Lakers sign DeAndre Ayton, they have to do something else. And it can't just be Alex Len for the minimum. Like, it has to be something else real. Because if it doesn't work, it's going to get pretty ugly potentially behind there. Because people just aren't going to put up with it, right? Like, they're going to let them have it. As you know, someone put it to me as like, everybody will be all fired up, and then by Thanksgiving they'll be like, how do we get this guy out of here?
Yeah. Like,
where do we go? Now, it's going to be a minimal investment, because as it stands right now, the way everything's shaking out, the Lakers have like $8 million-ish of the non-taxpayer MLE. Like, that's what they've got to use after Jake LaRavia gets a chunk of it. Maybe they could try to finagle a way that LaRavia's deal actually comes in slightly less, and it comes out of the biannual exception, and then you have a little bit. We'll see, where that goes. But yeah.
All right, let's go here. Feel like LeBron's statement scared all of our free agent targets. I don't know that had an impact on free agent targets.
Yeah. It's still the Lakers and Luka. Like, I'm not like, don't get me wrong, guys still want to play with LeBron, but I think anybody would be like, hey, if the Lakers want me to play with Luka for the next however many years, like, that's a draw in and of itself. So.
All right. Bucks are at 170 million now. How did they pull this off? Math me, Keith. Well, part of it is that it's
they're not at 170 million yet.
Yeah, but I mean, you took Damian Lillard from being what was off the top of my head, it was a $52 million player.
Yep.
Down to being a $22 million player. That's the crux of it in terms of what they're doing.
So we'll be nerdy again for a minute here. So what the Bucks are very likely to do is they are going to, while I'm doing this, can you ban this guy in the chat that's just spamming the same stupid nonsense?
Yeah, no problem. I'll find it.
Where they so what they're going to do is they're going to waive Damian Lillard. They're going to clear the deck of everything except for probably Bobby Portis, because they're going to need his bird rights to be able to sign him. And then also very likely Gary Trent Jr., because he's getting 120% of the non-bird, is what it looks like to me with this one. So that is going to be the way this goes too, with that. So So it's we'll see where ultimately that goes with that, but that sounds like that's going to be how they create the cap space. There's a little bit of play here with how they order things. They could potentially put some bonuses in Turner's contract that are easily achievable but don't matter for the cap space. That could happen. There are some things where it comes in where they could do Portis first because his actual salary would be lower than his cap hold. They're going to make it all work. They're going to get it all in there. But that's PK. That's roughly how the math is going to work out for the Bucks.
All right. Keith, if you want to get these last couple of questions, I got to run off to a couple of things here. But as always, guys, we're going to keep you all updated here. Keith, if you want to keep this going, I will be
I'll keep this going for a little bit.
Cool.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And I'll hand it over to Keith here.
My guy Trevor didn't really know how to sign off when he's not shutting it down.
I did. I was like, what do I do? I don't know how to do this. You're on the wrong
side too.
Yeah.
And it's all broken.
That was exactly my thought process. I'm like,
I don't know how to end when I'm the one.
And my concern was, oh my God, I'm going to exit this, and because I started it, I'm going to close the whole thing when I do. That we're good though. We're good.
Trevor
okay,
fully
I'm
leaves
really
and
going.
It shuts down. We love you guys. We'll catch you later. So, all right, Trevor, go. All right, guys. We'll do a couple more questions here because I got to get out to go have dinner with the family as well. But let's see. Suleiman asks, Spotrac, does it show what MLE teams are eligible for? Yes. Here's the challenge, though. When this is all happening on the fly, it's very hard to keep it up to date. And we don't necessarily know exactly how transactions are going to be structured. So that's something we have to work on. Q Spades, how does this sign and trade help Miami in their cap situation? It doesn't really. It doesn't take them back. We'll see if Fontecchio sticks or not. I don't really know what's going to happen there. We'll see how that goes down. If Lakers trade JV, good idea to get CP or Dame. Well, Dame's not going to help you for probably the whole season. I mean, maybe late in the year, Dame would help you, but he's not going to play for quite a long time. And then CP3, yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. If you move off a point guard, you can't really do much better than getting CP3. Can the Kesslers get Houston using DFS sign and trade deal? I mean, it's possible. That's kind of the beauty of right now. All these things are kind of agreed to, and then the best way to organize and pull things are there. So we'll see where that kind of comes to with that. So we'll see. For anybody wondering, I believe Trevor is going to go work on a video. I guess there was some Dave McMenamin reporting out there. So if you're here from Lakers Nation, he's going to have a video out relatively soon on that. If LeBron wants out, is a buyout on the table? I doubt it. I highly doubt he would do a buyout, because that would, remember, if you do a buyout, that limits you to what teams you can join. It's going to be really tough. So I think it's pretty hard to kind of see how that comes there. I don't think the Celtics are going to sign Damian Lillard. I don't think that'll be a thing. I don't know why I'd want to go there. They're kind of going in a little bit of a different place. Joey Morales, I'm optimistic for our Celtics. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure that, we'll see how it goes, with that. I really don't know, where the Celtics are going next. Signing or agreeing with Josh Minot today did take them back over the second apron. But that'll be a temporary thing. They will get under that second apron. We'll see how they make that happen down the line here. Let's see. Just checking in on some of the stuff here chat-wise. Let's come in. Sorry. Can you explain bird rights and sign and trade? Yeah, so bird rights, John, that's the mechanism of how you re-sign a player when you have full bird rights. You can sign them all the way up to their max contract. And then in a sign and trade, the rules for a sign and trade are it has to be at least the 3-year contract. And then when you move that player out, you can put them on whatever starting salary works to make the trade legal. In the Duncan Robinson situation, he's now getting, it looks like 15, 16 million a year roughly in his new contract. And then they are going to take in a little bit less. They're going to take actually quite a bit less from that from Simone Fontecchio, because you're allowed to basically, it's almost an $8 million clearance to add into the into what happens in the trade there on the Pistons side with that. I am not doing a Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum thing with that. So whoops, sorry. What do you want me to talk about with this Celtics positive? Please hit me and I'll talk about it. We've talked a lot about the Celtics. They're taking a little bit of a step back. They're going to reset here. I think Luka Garza, I think Josh Minott were both good flyers for Boston, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. So we'll see, ultimately where it lands for the Celtics. They're going to figure things out, and we'll kind of, see going forward, from there. So, we'll go with this. I like this question here from Tabe8 says, if you're any grumbling from teams, not beyond the normal grumbling, all this idea of teams didn't know second apron and they weren't prepared and they didn't have time to prepare, that's just not accurate at all. They are very in a spot where they are going to, or the teams rather, were in a spot where they were prepared for this. They were ready for this. Some of the teams like Boston and Milwaukee originally trading for Dame and Phoenix Suns, they made moves knowing the aprons were coming when there was kind of a phase-in year. And that's how Boston was able to get Drew Holiday to load up. And the Suns were able to get the guys they got up and loaded up. So that's where, we'll see, with these teams, are they regretting that? I don't like Boston is at all. They won a championship. They always kind of knew this would be the end result. Phoenix is probably regretting a little bit, but grumbling, yeah, it's the normal kind of grumbling. I don't think we're going to see them get too mad, about stuff. In general, they kind of knew where things were coming from this. So let's see. Houston is going to get Clint Capella. They're not going to not give anything up. I think personally it's probably going to be an amount needed of Jock Landale's contract that gets guaranteed to fit Clint Capella in. It could be Nate Williams Jr. We'll see, but they're going to probably guarantee one of those guys just enough to get them in, to get Clint Capella as the matching salary. Those guys will go off to Atlanta, and then Atlanta will keep them, waive them. We'll see with that, but it's not going to be for nothing. The Rockets didn't have any kind of sizable trade exceptions or anything like that. So it won't be for nothing, but it'll be for just enough to kind of make the math work there. They did not sign Luka Garza for more than Kornet. Kornet got $10 million a year. So if Luke Kornet was willing to come back on a minimum deal, which fully should not have been, this was his chance to really cash in there. So yeah, absolutely not. Should he have done that? But if he was, he would have been still on the Celtics. That deal would have been done, as soon as free agency opened. But Luka Garza got a minimum deal. So big major difference. In that, let's see here. Brian asks, what are you hearing about Grimes' figure? Doesn't sound like a lot of suitors to draft up a contract for the Sixers. Yeah, restricted free agency is so rough on players. It's actually everybody's focused on the apron stuff. I think restricted free agency is something that in the next negotiations, the player side needs to fight harder to have loosened up a lot more. Quentin Grimes, for example, the Nets are the only team with cap space. And guys, I apologize. If I end up losing signal fully, we've got a really bad storm rolling in. I can see it outside right now. So just a heads up. If that happens, apologize. We'll catch back up with you on the next show. But to go back to this restricted free agency, Grimes reportedly wants like $25 million. The Sixers are somewhere not at that number, but there's nobody else who can give him $25 million unless the Brooklyn Nets get involved. And that's not where the Nets seem to be headed. So this is a tricky spot for players and for this side of they just kind of get stuck. Their real best option is take the qualifying offer, play out the year. If you play out the year on the qualifying offer, you actually get a no trade clause for that 1 year because you lose your bird rights if you're traded. And then you go into unrestricted free agency the next year. So that gets kind of a little complicated there. But my guess is Grimes and Philly will come up a little. Grimes will come down a little. They'll get to a fair number for both sides. But right now, little stuck on this. Staying with Philly from a Chris says, Philly has another bad season. What do you think happens with PG and Embiid? I think you at least have to start the trade process as far as what is out there. Where do we want to go with those guys? Because at that point, you're just kind of stuck. I think probably more PG than Embiid, just simply because Embiid's he's been the franchise guy, and it's probably going to be harder to trade him. You might see a team say, where we could talk ourselves into Embiid, or into PG rather. Sorry. Sean Garner, what do the Grizzlies do next? They still got to clear out room to get into a place to be able to sign Jaren Jackson Jr. So there's probably one more salary clearing move coming. Cole Anthony was reported they're working on something, whether that's a trade or a buyout. That has not happened yet. So we'll see what happens with that one. And then, we'll see. John Conchar, I think, is another option that could happen. So we'll kind of come forward from there with that. No delay on the Kings extending Keon Ellis. They could do that at any time now if they want to, because they've picked up his thing there. Lakers don't have the ability to offer anywhere near the money the Bucks did. That's why they didn't get Miles Turner. Let's see here. I'm just trying to work through some more of these questions before we call it a show. Let's see. Yeah, it does sound like the Lakers are trying to make a trade, I would assume, for a center. Let's see what happens with that. No idea. There's just not a lot of details out there from what I've seen right now with this. So, I don't think Nuggets are done. Yeah, I get my left tricep to Fury. I'll take it. We'll see. What happens with them. I think there's a chance they'll. I think you're right. Another ball handler on the second unit is good, but I will say, they do like Jalen Pickett, and I think they're excited about Jalen Pickett on the second unit with a reliable center to work with which Valanciunas gives them, and a reliable player to work with where it is a spot where I put more shooting around him on that second unit, and that could probably be a little bit better for them. Lakers could still use the biannual and some of the MLE. It's starting to get a little tight. We'll see what happens with that one. I don't know that it's Herb Jones and Yves Missi. We'll see. At this point, almost nothing the Pelicans would do would surprise me. But that'd be an awful lot. I don't know what the Lakers would be giving up. And if that's where they landed with those two guys, I'd probably put them in a pretty good place, because Herb Jones is a nasty, nasty defender. So with that, the Poeltl extension, I wanted to see this Raptors team before they started locking into money for guys. I think they have a chance it could be good. I just don't know, right? There's so much uncertainty there that I really don't know with this. So I don't know. We'll see. It's not in a vacuum, the Poeltl deal is fine. I just think it is. I just don't know that it's just such a kind of weird roster right now. I still don't think they have nearly enough shooting. I think it's just a little messy. So yeah, we'll see, with all this. But yeah, I really don't know, where they're going with this. And I would have liked to have seen this play out a little bit more on the floor, early on with this. So does either McCollum or Middleton get traded by the Wizards? I don't know about right now, but I think probably by the trade deadline we see those guys move. Smart, Olynyk, I think would be the options. I think Washington's idea, much like what they did last year, is let the veterans be with the kids through training camp, through the early part of the season. That way they can help them kind of grow, figure out the NBA for the guys coming in. Just the young players, just having vets around them is helpful. It's not going to make them win too much, I don't think, or anything like that. And then they will move it into a place with those guys they will kind of get it into a spot where they'll look at trades for those veteran guys. So Smart, McCollum, Middleton, Olynyk, I think they will start to look at a little bit of a different, way down the end when they're going to naturally pivot to playing the kids even more in the second half of the series. So I think that's where that will kind of come down to, and they'll kind of go from there. I saw a Pistons question. It went by too quickly, but the question was basically, do they have a plan? I think you're seeing their plan. They're pivoting. The Malik Beasley stuff obviously put them in a difficult situation. So now the way I broke it down at the very beginning of the show, if you're tuning in late, is you get Jaden Ivey back. He, in effect, becomes kind of your Tim Hardaway Jr. replacement as the other starter in the starting group. Then you get Karis LeVert as your second unit ball handler in place of Dennis Schroeder. And then Duncan Robinson is your designated shooter inside, stepping in for Malik Beasley. And I think that's okay for Detroit. I think, all things being considered, you made out all right there. You're a little bit different now than what you looked like before, but I think they're going to be okay with that one. So we'll see, how that kind of comes together for them. Yeah, Josh Giddey, we haven't seen the extension yet for him, or not the extension, the new contract yet for him. That's got to be coming here fairly soon with this. So we'll see. Let's see. Where's Trevor? Trevor is right now he's recording a Lakers video. That'll be up fairly soon, I believe. And then I think he's actually going off to do some other commitments that he had for a little bit. He's been alive for quite a bit between Lakers Nation here on Front Office Show over the last a little bit here. So we'll see Trevor back Front Office Show on probably our next show, which will probably be tomorrow unless there's major trade that goes down or a major signing or something like this there. So what's left for the Warriors? They're still trying to get a big. They're still in on Al Horford. We'll see ultimately what happens with him. I think Al Horford at this point he's not going to rush anything. I think he is very much going to take stock of where things are at, see what his offers are, and kind of go forward from there. Let's see here. I think we're about there on the questions. So guys, really appreciate all you guys. With that, where can I get sorry. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I don't like doing the show by myself. If you've been here when I do the shows by myself, I like having my partner in crime alongside me. It just makes things easier with that. Ray, geesh, it's moving too quick for me. Ray says, where can I get one of those Spot Track shirts? If you email me, my email's in my Twitter bio. I can hit you back with that and let you know on that one. There. Mr. The Big Forehead, base year compensation also have the size of TPEs generated. Yes, it does. So whatever the base year compensation amount is, it does half that basically. It depends, as long as base year compensation is triggered. That's the important part of that. I don't know that it will be with Duncan Robinson. I have to dive into the numbers. That happened while we were recording. I have not had a chance to dive into that. So we'll look at it. But yeah, the Heat are still all right flexibility wise after making that trade, and we'll see what happens with Fontecchio and the rest. But listen, you guys are the best. We love you guys. Thanks for hanging out here with Trevor and I early, and then with me to close out the show. We will get back with everybody here, down the line on Front Office Show later tonight if there's major news. If not, probably sometime tomorrow we'll get back with everybody to kind of catch up on everything. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with all of us here on NBA Front Office Show. We appreciate all the love. We appreciate all the support that you guys give us all the time. We'll kind of get into two more even later, probably tomorrow, but maybe tonight if it's big enough news. But other than that, guys, stay safe and see ya.